My beloved child. I speak to you in this moment not to frighten you, but to keep you awake and aware. There are times in life when your soul senses a tremor before your mind can name what is approaching. You feel your heart beating faster, your breath growing shallow, a fragile sensation, as though one more passing wind could cause you to collapse. I know. I see it clearly. And because I see it, I come to speak to you before that wave reaches the shore. What you are experiencing is not a weakness to be ashamed of. It is a sign that you are standing at a major turning point, a place where familiar layers of protection are being shaken, where you can no longer rely on old habits or outward confidence to move forward. I call this a critical hour, not because danger is reigning, but because truth is about to be revealed, and truth always carries weight. My child, very soon you will hear news that unsettles your mind, not because it is cruel, but because it disrupts an order you once believed to be solid. You may find yourself asking, why now? Why me? These questions are a natural human response when familiar ground begins to shake beneath your feet. But before any other words reach your ears, I want you to hold fast to this truth. No event, no spoken word, no circumstance touches your life without passing through my permission. I do not say this to justify pain, but to lay a foundation for peace. When you know that all things pass through my hands, you no longer need to brace yourself against a chaotic universe. You only need to learn to trust the one who holds that universe together. I know you feel as though your strength is running low. There are moments when you think that one more ounce of pressure would be enough to make you fall. But listen to me carefully. The sensation of nearly fainting is not always a sign of the end. Sometimes it is the moment just before you release what you no longer have the strength to carry. You have tried for a long time to keep everything under control, to appear steady, to avoid disappointing others, to avoid looking weak even to yourself. I do not blame you for this. I understand that you learned to live this way in order to survive. But now I am inviting you into a deeper truth. You do not need to be strong in the way you once thought. The strength I give is not a rigid hardness, but the ability to remain standing even when your knees tremble. The ability to keep trusting even when your heart has not yet caught up with understanding. When that news arrives, your first reaction may be shock. You may feel as though someone has pulled away the chair you were leaning on. But remember this. I do not remove anything without preparing a firmer support in its place. There are things I allow to be shaken, not so that you will collapse, but so that you will stop building your life on what is fragile. You have leaned on things that can change human promises, outward stability plans that once seemed certain. I do not condemn you for this. It is how you learn to live in this world. But now I am teaching you something deeper. Only I do not change. Only I am a foundation that is not shaken by bad news or good news alike. My beloved, what I desire from you is not loud courage, not bold declarations before others. What I seek is quiet, trusted decision of the heart, made in a moment when no one else is watching. When that news comes, you can choose to let fear take over your thoughts. Or you can choose to pause for one breath and whisper within yourself, I know you are here. That single moment of choice will shape how you pass through what follows. Fear always wants you to believe that you are alone, that everything is beyond your control. But the truth is that I go before you, not only to prepare the way, but to understand every stone your feet will step upon. I stand beside you, not as a distant observer, but as a companion who feels every trembling beat of your heart. And I uphold you from behind. Even when you no longer have the strength to turn and look, my beloved child, what is drawing near does not knock in familiar ways. It does not arrive slowly enough for you to adjust your breathing, nor does it give you time to rearrange your thoughts or reinforce outward confidence. It comes swiftly, powerfully, beyond what your natural senses have used to measure safety. That is why you feel disoriented, as though your entire inner system has been placed on high alert. But I tell you now, before anything strikes your heart directly, this is not a moment meant to crush you. It has not been sent to erase you, nor to prove your fragility. It comes to illuminate, to uncover, to clarify a question you have long avoided, facing what you have truly built the foundation of your life upon. You have grown accustomed to living with a certain degree of control. You learn to read situations, anticipate reactions, and prepare backup plans for what might happen. That is not wrong. I do not dismiss your wisdom or your carefulness. But my child, there are things in life that cannot be managed by experience, nor mastered by the alertness of reason alone. When what exceeds the capacity of natural senses arrives, everything you once relied upon will be tested, not because those things are entirely worthless, but because they are not strong enough to carry the full weight of your soul. And at that very point, the truth is revealed. Are you standing on a solid foundation, or are you merely keeping your balance on temporary supports? You say you are afraid you will collapse, that the sensation of nearly fainting leaves you confused and unsettled. But I want you to understand this clearly. The moment when your body or your emotions reach their limit is not the most frightening thing. What is far more concerning is when you build your definition of strength on things that can crumble in an instant. The approval of others, the stability of circumstances, or the feeling that you are in control of everything. These may hold up on clear sunny days, but they tremble when the storm rises. I do not allow this storm to punish you. I allow it to save you from a dangerous illusion. The illusion that you can be your own foundation. My beloved child, the moment that is coming will not ask whether you are ready. It will not wait for you to steady your emotions, nor will it adjust its intensity to match what you believe you can endure. But I am here speaking to you beforehand, so that you do not misunderstand its meaning. This is not an attack. It is a measure, not a measure to condemn, but a measure to reveal. When everything is shaken, whatever is not placed upon me will show its fragility, and you will see clearly what in your life can stand without you straining to hold it up, and what exists only because of your constant effort. You may realize that you have been using your own endurance as a foundation. You took pride in the fact that you could bear it, get through it, not fall apart. But my child, endurance is not a foundation. It is merely a response when the foundation is not yet firm. I did not create you to live in a state of perpetual tension. I did not call you to me so that you would become an exhausted warrior, but so that you would become someone who knows how to rest even in the midst of the battlefield. True strength is not the ability to stand when everything is still within your control, but the ability to release control and yet not collapse. What is about to happen will bring you to a point where all old definitions of safety grow blurred. You will not be able to rely on ordinary intuition, nor will you be able to fully soothe yourself with past experience. And it is precisely there that I invite you to look to me again. Not as a last option when everything else has failed, but as the foundation that has always been there, simply waiting for you to dare to place the full weight of your life upon it. I do not change with circumstances. I do not weaken when you are weak. I do not waver when the world around you is shaking if you build upon me. You may tremble, but you will not fall. Everything you see around you, the words that sound out and then fade away, the faces that come and go, the circumstances that seem fixed and suddenly turn, the unexpected messages that make your heart lurch, all carry the fragile nature of morning dew. They appear for a moment, glistening in the early light, and then vanish when the sun rises higher. Time and again, you have placed the weight of your emotions upon these things, and each time they changed, your heart was left unsteady. But I say to you, in a world that is always moving and endlessly shifting its form, I remain here unworn by time, unbent by upheaval, unfaded by the changes that people call inevitable. I am the one who endures forever. And for that reason, I want you to learn to anchor yourself in me, not in what is passing away. My beloved child, I know that in the hours ahead, you will face a moment that will test your steadiness, not because I wish to measure how much you can endure, but because I desire to prepare you so that you will not be swept away. I do not come to you after everything has already fallen apart. I come beforehand to speak, to remind, to lay a deeper spiritual foundation within you. When that news arrives, whether it takes the form of a word spoken, a decision made, or an unexpected change, your body may tremble, your heart may beat faster, your breathing may grow heavier. This does not disappoint me. I do not demand that you be numb or unmoved in the face of life's tremors. What I desire is that, amid all those natural reactions, your spirit remains anchored, not drifting with every wave of emotion. I am doing a work far deeper than simply helping you get through a situation. I am teaching you the difference between being hardened and being steadfast in faith. Hardness closes you off, building walls so that nothing can be felt. Steadfast faith is different. It allows you to feel fully, yet refuses to let emotions take the helm. I am not training you to become cold. I am strengthening your faith so it can support you even when everything around you feels fragile. Faith does not make you immune to surprise. Faith enables you to stand firm when surprise arrives. You have lived long enough in a state of reaction. Each time something unfolded outside your expectations, you tensed immediately, worrying, analyzing, blaming yourself, or rushing to regain control. I see how that weariness has accumulated within you, like a burden you have carried for so long that you forgot you could set it down. Reaction is natural, but if you live forever in reaction, you will be led by circumstances rather than led by faith. Now I invite you into a different way of living, not denying what is happening, but responding to it with trust. Responding is not ignoring reality or pretending to be strong. Responding is choosing to stand upon my unchanging foundation, and from there, to view everything with new eyes. My beloved child, understand this. My preparation is not meant to spare you from every tremor. This world does not promise lasting stability, and I do not deceive you with empty assurances that everything will always be calm. But I promise you something deeper. No matter how circumstances shift, I remain the place where you can place the full weight of your life. When you build on what is temporary, even a strange breeze can cause you to stagger. When you build on me, you may feel the force of strong winds. Yet your feet will remain on the rock in the hours ahead when you hear what unsettles your heart. Remember that I have spoken to you beforehand, not to make you anxious in anticipation, but to help you realize that in the deepest sense, you are not taken by surprise. I was there before you. I saw this moment before it reached you, and I planted these reminders within you so that when the waves rise, you will know what to hold on to. Faith does not erase questions, but it keeps you from sinking into them. Faith does not make you immune to sorrow, but it keeps sorrow from turning into despair. My beloved child, I am not hurried in my work. I am not shaping you for a single moment, but for an entire journey. What I am doing in you now will carry you far beyond the event before you. As you learn to respond with faith, You will discover that your strength no longer depends on whether things unfold according to your plans. That strength flows from a deep knowing that I am the one who holds your life, and that nothing can separate you from my presence. Let this word anchor you. When your heart wavers, everything you see is temporary, but I am eternal. Voices will change, situations will pass, yet my love and faithfulness do not wear thin with time. When your body feels weak, let your spirit lean on me. When old reflexes rise up, choose to respond with faith, a faith that is not loud or showy, but steady and deep. And when you look back, you will recognize that it was in this very moment of testing that I taught you how to live, no longer ruled by what is temporary, but anchored firmly in the one who remains forever. My beloved child, pause for a moment and listen to me with your whole inner being, not merely with your ears, but with the deepest place of your soul, the place you often avoid when life feels calm and manageable. I have called you many times into trust, and I know very well how you trust. You trust when the sky is still clear, when uncertainties remain within what you can anticipate, when you still feel a sense of control over the situation. You trust when you can foresee outcomes, when you still have backup plans, when there is a familiar ground you can return to if things do not go as expected. This is a form of conditional trust, not wrong, but not yet deep enough to sustain you when the ground beneath your feet begins to tremble. Now I am leading you through a place where old maps no longer work. There, the experiences that once brought you reassurance are no longer sufficient to explain what is unfolding. You cannot predict how things will progress. You cannot measure the impact in advance. And you cannot use your current understanding to calm yourself. I know this unsettles you because you are accustomed to clarity. But my child, if every path were fully illuminated from the start, faith would be reduced to intellectual agreement rather than the surrender of the soul. I am not removing the light to make you lose your way. I am lowering your line of sight so you may learn to hold my hand instead of grasping for answers. Ask your own heart this: how could you ever discover the depth of faith if everything that comes to you is smooth and comfortable? Faith is not measured by days without wind, but by how you stand firm when the storm rises. If you have never faced a moment when everything shakes, how would you know whether you are standing on sand or on rock? There are truths that reveal themselves only when the outer layers of stability are stripped away. I am not rushing this process, but neither am I delaying it, because I know you are ready to learn a deeper lesson, one that cannot be taught through words, but only engraved through lived experience. My beloved child, there is something you must understand clearly. I do not bring you to the edge to shame you for your weakness. I bring you there to free you from the illusion that you must always be strong, when your own strength runs dry, when familiar strategies no longer work, when you realize you cannot keep yourself standing. This is not failure. This is the most honest moment of our relationship. At the very point where you release confidence rooted in your own ability, you begin to feel the hand I have been holding you with all along. News is coming, whatever form it may take, and it will create a wave within you. It may leave you stunned. It may awaken old questions. It may cause you to doubt the peace you thought you possessed. But listen to me slowly and clearly. That news is not permitted to destroy you. It is not sent to steal your peace, but to reveal where that peace is rooted. If your peace depends on everything going according to plan, it will waver. If your peace rests in me, it will remain steady even when you do not yet understand what is happening. I do not confuse peace with outward quiet. True peace is not the absence of disturbance, but my steady presence within it, your body may tremble, your heart may race, your thoughts may be scattered, but deep within your soul, there remains an anchor that cannot be dislodged. That anchor does not come from the certainty of circumstances, but from my faithfulness. I am allowing you to touch this difference, not to frighten you, but to help you grow, my beloved child. Remember this: I do not measure your faith by the words you speak when everything is going well. I look at your quiet choices when control slips from your hands, when you choose not to panic, though answers are missing, when you choose to remain in trust, though your emotions pull you elsewhere, when you choose to hold on to me instead of clinging to fear. This is when your faith is refined. It is not loud or dramatic, but it is deep and enduring. You once thought that strong faith meant never wavering. I teach you something different. Mature faith dares to keep walking even while wavering. It does not require certainty about the future. It only asks for faithfulness in the present. And within that faithfulness, I do my work gently, yet firmly, quietly, yet without ceasing. My beloved child, I have not left you alone in this land of unpredictability. I am here going before you step by step, standing beside you in every moment, and holding you even when you no longer have the strength to hold yourself. When the news arrives, allow it to clarify what must be clarified. But do not let it define you. Your worth is not determined by events. Your peace is not determined by information. All of it is anchored in me, the one who does not change when everything else does. My beloved child, remain still for one more breath, and do not panic at the wave of dizziness moving through you. What you are experiencing is not a sign that you are about to collapse, but a sign that you have reached the natural boundary of human strength. Your body reacts, your emotions surge, your thoughts become tangled. This is real, deeply human. I do not blame you for it. I do not ask you to deny what you feel or to pretend you are strong. Yet even in this very moment, I am calling a deeper part of you to rise, the spirit within you, the part created to stand above pressure, to not be swept away by the violent waves of circumstance. I am inviting you into a trust deeper than anything you have known before. Not the kind of faith spoken when everything is calm, when you still control the rhythm of life and can predict tomorrow. I am calling you into a faith proven in fire, when life places before you things that shake your soul, when you no longer have the strength to steady yourself with reason, when familiar supports suddenly become fragile. This is where faith ceases to be an idea and becomes a lifeline. My beloved child, this world does not move to a gentle rhythm. Life is full of sudden shifts, unannounced news turns that appear when you believe you are walking a straight road. There are days you wake with a clear plan, yet by nightfall, everything has changed. If every change is enough to bring you to your knees, the journey ahead will become a burden too heavy to carry. I do not say this to frighten you, but to awaken you. You were not created to live by reaction. You were created to live from the steadiness that comes from me. Understand this clearly. If every fragment of news can push you into panic, if every unexpected word can steal your peace, then you are handing the control of your inner life to external forces. In that place, the enemy does not need to attack directly. He only needs to stir circumstances to guide your reactions. That must not be allowed, not because you must strain to hold yourself together, but because you belong to me, and those who belong to me are not shaped by the world's tremors, but by my unchanging presence within them. My beloved child, I am not calling you to become numb to life. I do not want you to turn into cold stone, unable to feel pain or emotion. But I want you to learn the difference between emotions and foundation. Emotions rise and fall. A foundation must not shift when you build your life on news, on words, on outward stability. Even an unfamiliar breeze can make you sway. But when you build your foundation on me, you may tremble. Yet you will not be carried away. You may cry. Yet you will not despair. You may feel confused. Yet you will not lose your direction. I am teaching you a vital lesson for the long road ahead. You cannot go far if every disruption drags you back to the starting line. You cannot complete what I have placed within you if every surprise shatters your heart. I am not saying the path ahead will be free of trials. On the contrary, I tell you the truth, there will be moments even more unexpected than this one. And that is precisely why I am training your spirit now. So you learn to stand firm, not because circumstances are favorable, but because of your living connection with me. My beloved child, remember this. The enemy is not afraid of loud declarations made when you are safe. What he seeks to break is your response when you are placed under pressure. If he can drive you into panic disorientation or doubt about your own worth, he gains an advantage. But I say to you, you are not unprotected. You are not abandoned in the midst of shaking. You belong to me, and I never release what belongs to me. When you feel dizzy, let it be a signal to turn inward, not to run away. Let your spirit speak louder than your natural instincts. Whisper within your heart, I am here. No ornate prayers are required. No false strength is needed. Only an honest return. In that moment, you will discover that steadiness is not the absence of feeling, but the awareness of where you stand. Even as emotions shift, my beloved child, I am preparing you for a life no longer governed by fear. Not because fear will disappear, but because it will no longer have the final voice. I am building within you an inner strength that flows from your bond with me, a strength that allows you to receive news without being crushed, to face surprises without losing yourself, to walk through unclear crossroads without letting go of hope. Believe this deeply, the world may shake, but you do not belong to its shaking. You belong to me, and because you belong to me, you will learn to stand, not by your own strength, not by hardened indifference, but by a living, mature faith that has been tested and refined. When you stand this way, no news can steal your soul, no unexpected moment can define you, and no power can seize control of your reactions. I am here, and I am leading you steadily, step by step. Even as the world around you trembles, my beloved child, I know well what is moving through your mind right now. I see the quiet questions circling within you, the assumptions you are arranging, the scenarios you are trying to construct in order to calm yourself. You are asking what could be so significant that he would speak to me in advance like this. You try to imagine different possibilities, not out of curiosity, but because you hope that if you can anticipate what is coming, you will be less afraid. That is a deeply human reflex. When facing the unknown, your mind seeks to fill the empty spaces with reasoning, believing that understanding beforehand will help you control how you feel later. I do not fault you for this. I understand that you have learned to live this way in order to survive in a world that constantly demands preparation, calculation, and risk assessment. But my beloved child, listen to me gently and clearly on this journey. Preparing your mind will not save you, not because your mind is weak, but because it was not created to carry the weight of faith. Your mind is very skilled at analyzing reasoning and connecting information. Yet it always carries a hidden need to control the outcome. It wants to know what will happen, in what order, to what degree, and where everything will finally lead. That is why the less it knows, the more exhausted it becomes, the more uncertain things are, the more it panics. If I were to prepare only your mind, you would still try to hold the controls, still grip the steering wheel, still insist that everything unfold within limits you believe you can endure. And my child, the path I am leading you on does not operate by that logic. I am not coming to equip you with more information. I am not coming to give you a list of what is about to happen. I am not coming to help you be ready in the way you have always understood readiness. I am doing something else, something deeper, quieter, yet far more decisive. I am preparing your heart. Because when everything moves beyond understanding, what keeps you standing is not knowledge, but where you place your trust. The heart is where you choose trust, or resistance, surrender, or control, openness, or withdrawal. If your heart is not prepared, no matter how sharp your mind may be, you will still collapse under the weight of what cannot be predicted. My beloved child, your mind keeps asking what will happen, but your heart must learn a different question. Where am I with you in this? When you focus only on predicting events, you unknowingly miss my presence. You strive to understand the future while forgetting that I am in the present. And I tell you truthfully, it is not what happens that will define you, but how you remain with me when it happens. The path I lead you on does not require you to know in advance. It requires you to trust in advance. Trust not because you understand, but because you know who I am. I know you have grown accustomed to a subtle form of control. You do not always dominate things outwardly, but you maintain control by preparing emotionally, by rehearsing reactions, by telling yourself, I will be okay, if you believe that, if you are not surprised, you will not be wounded too deeply. But my child, that control, however carefully wrapped in wisdom, remains a burden. It forces you to stay alert, tense, and constantly defensive. I did not create you to live that way. I did not invite you into relationship with me so that you would keep your hand on every door, ready to slam it shut at the first sign of danger. The road I am leading you on requires a very real letting go. Not a letting go of responsibility, not a letting go of thought, but a letting go of the illusion that you must understand before you can trust. There are turns that can only be navigated with a softened heart, not a rigid mind. There are transitions that happen only when you release control, when you allow me to lead, according to my rhythm, not your map. I know this frightens you, because surrendering control always carries a sense of vulnerability. But it is precisely within that vulnerability that you will discover that I am stronger than everything you have been trying to hold together. My beloved child, I am not preparing you by gradually familiarizing you with the idea of an approaching shock. I am preparing you by drawing you closer. I want your heart anchored firmly in me, so that when your mind has no answer left, your heart still knows where to return. I want you to learn how to rest in me, even without understanding, to trust me, even without foresight, to keep moving, even when your hands are empty. This is not blind recklessness. It is mature surrender, born from relationship rather than self-confidence. I know you are trying to prepare yourself, but let me say this clearly. Your inner strength is not formed through prediction, but through attachment. When your heart learns to remain with me in silence, when you allow yourself not to know and still trust, when you stop forcing yourself to understand everything in order to feel safe, that is when you are being prepared in the deepest way. Because whatever comes, if your heart is already in me, it cannot destroy you. It may make you tremble. It may bring tears. It may confuse you, but it will not steal your foundation. My beloved child, I'm not leading you down this path to make you lose control, but to help you discover a security deeper than control. True safety does not come from knowing everything in advance. It comes from knowing that I am here, before, within, and beyond every event. When you release your grip on control, you do not fall into emptiness. You fall into my hands, and my hands never slip. Stop trying to imagine what is coming. Stop exhausting yourself by forecasting the future. Instead, allow me to do my work within your heart. Let me soften what has grown rigid, quiet, what has been stretched too tight, and strengthen what has grown weary from carrying everything alone. You do not need to be ready in the way you think. You only need to be ready to trust me in a way you have never dared before. And when that moment comes, you will realize that because I have prepared your heart, you can stand firm, even when your mind can no longer hold on to anything at all. My beloved child, I am inviting you to move forward into a way of living that is unfamiliar to you. Not walking with a complete map in hand, not walking with every answer already secured, but walking within the absence of full understanding. This runs contrary to your natural instincts. Human beings long to see the road ahead, to know what they will encounter, to be certain that every step is safe. But my child, if you only move when everything has already been explained, that is no longer faith. It is merely the agreement of reason. True faith begins when you dare to step forward, even when the light reaches only far enough for the next step. I know you desire understanding. You are not resisting me. You are seeking reassurance. You want to know that what is coming will not exceed your capacity to endure, that you will not be abandoned in the midst of upheaval. But listen carefully to what I say, slowly and clearly. The path I am leading you on is not secured by knowledge, but by my presence. You are not called to grasp the future. You are called to hold tightly to me. When everything else collapses, what keeps you standing is not the information you possess, but the relationship you are living within. When that news arrives, your body's first reaction may be to freeze. Your breathing may grow heavy. Your heart may lose its rhythm. Your knees may tremble as though they can no longer support you. Do not be ashamed of this. It is not a sign of failure. It is the natural response of the flesh when faced with what lies beyond anticipation. I do not demand that your body appear strong. I do not ask you to maintain composure when your inner world is swaying. But in that very moment, I need something else to rise the spirit within you. Your spirit does not speak through emotion, nor through panic. It was created to remind your heart of truth. Even when everything else is shaking, when your body weakens, when your reasoning temporarily goes numb, your spirit must speak and declare what does not change. God already knew this. Nothing comes to you by accident. No event catches me by surprise. What is overwhelming you now is not something that has just entered my awareness. I saw it long before, and I was there before it ever reached you. Your spirit must continue to remind you God warned you not to make you fearful as you waited, but so you would not be crushed by the feeling of betrayal or abandonment. When you remember that I whispered to you beforehand, you will understand that I was not standing at a distance watching you stumble. I was preparing your heart little by little, even when you did not fully recognize it. The words I spoke to you, the silences I led you through, the times I taught you to remain still in uncertainty. All of these were part of the preparation, and then your spirit must go on to say, God prepared you not by making you immune to pain, but by deepening the roots of your faith. I did not prepare you by giving you unlimited physical strength, but by teaching you how to lean. I did not prepare you by removing every trial, but by forming you to stand firm when trials arrive. You are stronger than you think, not because you endure well, but because I am within you. And finally, your spirit must proclaim the most important truth of all. God is standing with you. Not that I once stood with you in the past. Not that I will stand with you at some distant point in the future. But that I am standing with you right now. In this very moment when that news resounds, when the air around you feels heavy, when you feel alone amid a crowd of chaotic thoughts, remember that I have not left my place. I am beside you, not to pressure you into being strong, but to lift you when you no longer have the strength to rise on your own. My beloved child, I do not speak these things to plant fear in you about the hours ahead. I do not want you to live in anticipation of something terrible. I speak so you will understand that true strength does not come from avoiding dizziness, but from knowing that you are not alone within it. When the moment arrives, you may feel as though everything inside you wants to collapse. Yet it is precisely then that the memory of my words will rise within you, not loudly, not dramatically, but firmly enough to keep you upright. I do not promise that you will not tremble. I do not promise that you will not weep, but I promise that you will not be crushed. I promise that even if you must sit down for a moment, because you are exhausted, I will be there to help you stand again. The strength you will discover in that moment will not come from the flesh, not from human willpower, not from hollow self-reassurances. It will come from the truth that I am faithful, and that I never abandon the work I have begun in you. My beloved child, learn to walk without needing to understand everything. Learn to trust me when every other support falls away. This is not recklessness. It is maturity. It is the moment you stop demanding to see the entire picture in order to move forward and begin trusting that knowing I am holding your hand is enough. When you live this way, news no longer holds ultimate power over you. Circumstances no longer define who you are, and fear no longer sits on the throne of your heart. When that moment comes, you will stand, not because you prepared perfectly, but because you trusted in the right place. And when you rise, though, your legs may still tremble, though your eyes may still be wet, you will realize that the strength lifting you is not your own. It is my strength flowing through you, holding you, leading you onward. And you will know that you have not merely survived a moment of shock, but have entered a deeper dimension of faith, where you no longer live by what you see, but by the one who is with you in everything you have yet to see. My beloved child, I have heard your prayers in the quiet of the night, and in the mornings, when you choose to believe, even while your heart is weary. You have come to me many times asking that your faith would grow stronger, that you would be led deeper, that you might see more clearly how my power is at work in your life. I have not forgotten those words. I do not treat them as passing wishes. But my child, there are things you have not yet fully understood about the way I work within the human soul. Faith does not grow in ground that is always safe. It takes root and rises where your vision reaches its limit, where what you once considered certain begins to tremble. You ask for faith, yet you still hope it can grow without disturbing familiar structures. I love you too much to answer you in such a shallow way. Listen carefully. True strength is not formed through prolonged comfort. Comfort may soothe you, but it rarely matures you. When everything runs smoothly, you rely on habit, on experience, on formulas you already know. But when comfort ends, when the things you once leaned on can no longer support you, that is when the inner muscles begin to be trained. I am not seeking to exhaust you. I am training you. Training always requires stretching, always involves discomfort, but it produces an endurance that ease can never give. My beloved child, the revelation you long for does not arrive when your mind is controlling everything. It appears when your natural understanding reaches its point of powerlessness, when there are no longer enough reasons to explain, no strategies to turn things around, no data to reassure you. I do not despise the intellect I have given you. I simply do not allow it to sit on the throne of your heart. When your mind collapses under the weight of its limited understanding, I finally have space to reveal what lies beyond it. Revelation is not a reward for those who think well. It is grace for those who are willing to trust when there is nothing left to hold on to. I know you once thought that if I loved you, I would teach you by gentle paths. But let me speak the truth to you in love. I do not teach you through ease, because ease rarely reaches the root. I teach you through moments that test your endurance. Moments when you cannot rely on fleeting emotions, on external encouragement, or on past successes. It is in such hours that you learn how to remain. Remaining is not because you have no other option, but because you have chosen me as your refuge. My beloved child, understand this clearly. Trials are not a sign of my absence. On the contrary, they are often a sign that I am very near. I do not stand at a distance watching you struggle. I am present within the process itself, adjusting every detail, measuring every pressure, weighing every heartbeat. Nothing comes to you beyond what I allow. I measure not to see how much you can endure, but to protect you from being crushed. What comes to you is measured by love, not by cruelty. If I permit a trial, I have already prepared a way for you to pass through it. You may feel as though your vision is failing. The things you once believed to be true, the things you relied on for direction, no longer seem clear. Do not be afraid of this. The failure of vision is not the end of faith. It is often the doorway into a deeper dimension. When you can no longer see clearly with your own eyes, you learn to walk by trust. When you can no longer secure the future, you learn to hold tightly to me. And this is the very faith you asked for. A faith not limited by what you can see. My beloved child, I know this transition is tiring for you. I know there are moments when you wonder whether you asked for too much, whether you traded peace for a journey that feels too demanding. But remember, you asked to go deeper. Going deeper is not only about seeing more, it is about being refined more. Going deeper is not only about sensing power, it is about learning to carry that power with humility and obedience. I do not give you strength so that you may shine. I give you strength so that you may stand firm when the light temporarily fades. Let me remind you once more, slowly and clearly. Even this trial is under my control. I have not lost control. I have not allowed things to slip outside my purpose. When you feel that everything is beyond your grasp, it is only a sign that it is exactly where it should be in my hands. And my hands do not tremble. I am not confused. I know what I am doing with you, because I know you better than you know yourself, my beloved child. I am not hurried in my work. I do not force you to grow overnight, but I also do not allow you to remain too long in a safe place once it begins to make you stagnant. I love you enough to draw you out of comfort when comfort starts to dull you. I love you enough to allow moments that will test your endurance, because that endurance will carry you farther than any temporary emotion ever could. You will learn to stand firm, not when everything is favorable, but when everything requires you to choose me again, quietly, faithfully, without an audience. The day will come when you look back and understand that these difficult hours were not interruptions to the journey, but its very center. You will realize that your faith no longer depends on whether things unfold the way you hoped. It will be anchored in the knowledge that I am faithful in easy days and in dark nights. And when you stand in that place, you will know that what I am building within you cannot be taken away by any upheaval. So, my beloved child, continue to trust me even when your vision grows dim. Even when comfort ends, even when your natural mind has no answers left. I am here. I am measuring. I am leading you forward, and the work I have begun in you will not end in confusion, but in deep stability. A stability born of faith that has been tested, refined, and firmly anchored in me. My beloved child, I know very well the weight that is pressing upon your heart. It is not only the things you speak aloud, but also the things you keep in silence, because you fear being misunderstood, because you fear disappointing someone, or because even you yourself have not yet found words for them. I know the nights when you lie still, but your heart is restless. I know the mornings when you rise with shoulders already weary, though the day has barely begun. I know you have asked yourself how much longer you can endure, how much farther you can go before exhaustion overtakes you. And I say this to you in complete truth. I know exactly how much you can carry, and I will never allow you to bear more than what I have measured with love. My beloved child, understand this deep truth that life rarely teaches gently. Life does not wait for you to be ready. It does not ask your permission before it changes direction. It does not send advanced notice before storms arise. It does not slow its rhythm to match your strength or your comfort. There are moments that arrive without warning, disruptions that appear unannounced, turns that open when you thought you were walking a straight path. This is the nature of life in this world. And if you place your trust in the stability of life itself, you will find yourself continually shaken. But my child, I am not like that life. I am not capricious. I do not respond late. I do not allow my children to enter trials without preparation beforehand. When I speak to you now, it is not delay. It is care. I speak before that moment arrives, because I don't want you to be struck down by the feeling of abandonment or surprise. I want you to remember that the instant it comes, I am already there before you, beside you, and within you. The moment that is approaching has not been sent to crush you. It does not come to destroy, not to prove your weakness, not to take away what I have planted within you. It comes with a deeper purpose to lift you up. But my child, this lifting does not happen in the way the world understands. It doesn't lift you by ease. It doesn't lift you by removing all pain. It lifts you by drawing you to root yourself more deeply in the truth I speak to you today. If you do not anchor yourself in this word, that same moment can become a burden. But if you anchor yourself in me, it will become a launching ground. I know you once thought that trusting me would mean a smoother path. Let me gently realign that understanding in truth and love. You do not trust me because life is stable. Life by its nature is not. You trust me because I am steadfast when everything else shifts. When you place your trust in circumstances that trust trembles with every change. When you place your trust in me, you can stand firm even when circumstances collapse. Not because you are strong, but because your foundation is not built on sand. My beloved child, you are not called to trust me because circumstances are predictable. Predictable circumstances only produce temporary reassurance, and that reassurance disappears the moment the unexpected arrives. I invite you to trust me because my will cannot be shaken. People may change their minds. Plans may fall apart. Promises may be withdrawn. But what I have purposed cannot be bent. When you anchor your heart in my will, you are no longer carried away by every piece of news, every word, spoken every sudden event. You begin to live from a deeper axis, the axis of trust, not of reaction. I know the path you are walking is not smooth. I know there are uneven stretches that make your steps ache, turns that frighten you because you cannot see what lies ahead. But my child, you are not called to trust me because the road is level. You are called to trust me because I walk with you on the uneven ground. My presence does not depend on the terrain. I am not only with you on the mountaintop, I am also with you in the valley. I am not only with you when you feel strong, I am also with you when you are trembling. My beloved child, understand this deeply. The preparation I give you is not meant to spare you from all pain, but to keep pain from defining you. I prepare you by reminding you that I know the burden you carry. I prepare you by letting you know that I have measured what comes to you. I prepare you by being with you in the very moment it happens, not standing at a distance watching. When you know this, you no longer face upheaval as someone powerless. You face it as one who is sheltered. My beloved child, you may not feel stronger when that moment arrives. You may still tremble. Tears may still fall. You may still need to sit down to catch your breath. I do not call that failure. I do not measure your faith by outward calm. I measure your faith by where you turn when everything within you is shaken. If in that moment you remember that I am steadfast, if you remember that my will does not waver, if you remember that I am walking beside you, then you are already standing firm. Even if you do not yet realize it, I do not speak these things to make you fear what is coming. I speak so that you will not be so overwhelmed that you forget to whom you belong. You are not someone abandoned to fate. You are one whom I lead. And when you trust me in this way, not because life is stable, not because circumstances are predictable, not because the road is smooth, you will discover a peace the world cannot give and cannot take away. My beloved child, anchor yourself in the truth I speak to you today. Let this word remain with you when that moment comes. And you will see that what seemed intent on pressing you down becomes the very place where I lift you up. Not to make you proud, but to make you steady. Not to display your strength, but to teach you that true strength comes from trusting the one who never wavers. My beloved child, the news that is about to come will be like a mirror held straight up to the deepest place within your heart. Not to accuse you, not to shame you, but to reveal where you have placed your trust throughout the journey so far. There were times when you believed you were trusting me, yet deep inside you were still leaning on your own strength, your endurance, your cleverness, your hard-earned experience gathered over the years. I do not deny that you have tried, that you have persevered, that you have overcome many things by your own effort. But my child, when that news arrives, whatever you have been relying on will be tested. If you have placed the weight of your life on your own strength, you will feel overwhelmed. Not because you are weak, but because human strength was never designed to carry burdens beyond its control. If you have placed your trust in people, you will feel broken, not because they intended harm, but because they too are fragile, limited, and sometimes unable to carry the expectations you place upon them. If you have placed your sense of safety in circumstances, fear will arise, because circumstances change faster than you can steady your breath. But if you have placed your trust in me, then no matter how great the shock, no matter how fast your heart races, no matter how much your knees tremble, your spirit will remain standing, because it is anchored to the one who never shakes. My beloved child, listen to me carefully. Not with your ears, but with the deepest place within you. This moment is not being sent to define your collapse. It does not come to label you a failure, nor to tell a story that you have gone the wrong way or trusted the wrong thing. On the contrary, this moment will define your faith. Not the faith you spoke of when everything was calm, but the faith revealed when every familiar layer of protection is stripped away. Faith is not what you declare in the light. It is what you hold on to in the dark. When the noise falls silent, when every prediction crumbles, what remains within you will clearly reveal whom you truly trust. and I am not afraid of that truth. For I am here to uphold you, even when the truth makes you tremble. This moment will also not announce the exhaustion of your strength. Even if you feel you have reached your limit, my child, what you call having no strength left is often only the end of an old layer of strength, a strength built on willpower, discipline, and physical endurance. When that layer is depleted, you panic thinking there is nothing left. But I tell you this precisely where you believe you have nothing left to lean on. A deeper source of strength will be awakened. It is not loud, not explosive, but the strength of trust, a quiet, enduring strength that flows from knowing you do not have to carry everything alone. When you stop straining to prove yourself, stop forcing yourself to stand upright by your own power, you will sense another current lifting you. You never knew you had this strength because you had never allowed yourself to become weak enough for it to appear. My beloved child, do not misunderstand me. I do not diminish your efforts, nor do I belittle the victories you achieved through perseverance. But I am inviting you into another stage of the journey, one where you no longer live by tension, but by mature surrender. This moment will not shatter the story of your life. It will not erase the chapters you have already walked through, nor deny the sweat and tears you have shed. It will redirect that story toward a purpose greater, deeper, and more enduring. There are turns that appear only when you think you have gone far enough on the old road, and it is at that turn that I open a path you never dared to imagine, not to lead you astray, but to draw you into the depth of my intention. My beloved child, look again at what I am revealing to you through these words. If you trust in your own strength, the shock will overwhelm you, because that strength is limited. If you trust in people, their fragility will break you, because they are not an eternal foundation. If you trust in circumstances, their changes will sow fear, because they never stand still. But if you trust in me, not as a backup option, but as your only foundation, then even when you don't understand what is happening, you will still be able to stand. To stand, not because you feel nothing, but because you know you are standing on rock, not on sand. I know you fear that this moment will expose the weaknesses you have always tried to hide. But my child, I am not afraid of your weakness. I am not surprised by your fragility. What matters to me is not whether you tremble, but where you turn when you tremble. If in that moment you turn back to me, even with only a whisper, even with a single surrendered breath, you have already won, even if the world calls it failure. For true victory is not never being shaken, but never being swept away. My beloved child, let me say this slowly and deeply until it reaches your very core. This moment will not define you as one who fell. It will reveal you as one who trusts. It will not declare you depleted. It will awaken within you a resource you have never touched. It will not end the story of your life. It will rewrite its direction along a new axis, the axis of mature faith, of true surrender, of a deeper relationship with me. One day when you look back, you may be surprised to see that the very moment you once feared most became the turning point of your journey. You will realize that without that disruption, you would still be leaning on things not strong enough to carry you far. You will see that I use that moment not to make you smaller, but deeper. Not to make you weaker, but to make your faith steadier. Not to lead you off course, but to place you firmly within the flow of my purpose. So, my beloved child, listen to me and anchor your heart in me now. Do not wait for the news to arrive before seeking your footing. Stand in me today. Choose to trust me, not because you understand everything, but because you know who I am. Choose to trust me, not because everything feels safe, but because I am your safety. When you do this, the moment that is coming, no matter how intense, will not destroy you. It will only make one thing clear, that your faith no longer rests on what can collapse, but is placed in the one who never moves. My beloved child, each time I allow a shock to enter your life, I am not merely opening the door to a trial. I am simultaneously opening a deep passage that leads to supernatural strength you have never touched before. I do not allow sudden waves to come in order to drown you. I allow them to come so that you may be lifted into another level of maturity. There are capacities within your soul that only awaken when the familiar layers of safety are shaken without moments of displacement. You would never discover how powerfully you were created when you anchor yourself in me. I want you to understand this clearly. I do not allow pain without purpose. Pain is not the language I use to punish. It is a tool I use to refine. Not all pain is the same. Some pain hardens. Some pain deepens. I do not lead you into meaningless suffering. I lead you into truth. That truth may sometimes take your breath away, but it frees you from illusions that have held you captive for too long. When you realize that I am still there, still holding you in the midst of pain, you will learn to trust more deeply. Not because you enjoy what is happening, but because you know I am at work. I also don't allow shock without instruction. Every jolt is a classroom where I teach lessons that calmness could never impart. In moments of upheaval, what is unstable will fall away, and what is true will remain. You will see clearly what once sustained you, and what was only a temporary support. You will learn that true peace is not the absence of disturbance, but my presence in the midst of it. And when you learn this, you will no longer fear shaking as you once did, because you will know it doesn't have the authority to define who you are. I do not allow sudden change without sacred timing. I do not act impulsively. I do not let things happen at random. My timing is woven from love, wisdom, and long-term purpose. There are doors that open only when you are ready to walk through them. Not because you understand everything, but because you trust me enough to follow even when the path is not fully visible. When the unexpected happens, you may feel as though you have been placed in a passive position. In truth, you are being invited into a transition I prepared long before. My beloved child, learn this simple yet powerful truth. Life will never promise comfort. It does not guarantee that every day will be gentle, that every plan will unfold smoothly, or that every relationship will remain easy. But I promise guidance. My guidance does not always remove the bends in the road. Sometimes it simply assures you that my hand is holding yours as you walk through those bends. When you allow me to lead you, do not need to know everything in advance. You only need to know that you are not walking alone. Life also does not promise predictability. Variables will arise, and changes will come faster than you can prepare for them. But I promise my presence, that presence does not depend on favorable or unfavorable circumstances. I am with you on sunny days and in stormy nights, in moments when you feel steady, and in hours when you tremble. When you become aware of my presence, you will discover that even the unpredictable is no longer as frightening as before, because you know you are accompanied by the one who sees all things ahead of time. Life does not promise stability either. Foundations you once believed were solid may shake. Things you relied on may change, but I promise my unchanging hand. That hand does not withdraw when you are weak. It does not release you when you lose your way. It does not tremble when the world sways. When you place the weight of your life upon that hand, you will understand what true safety is. Not safety because there is no disturbance, but safety, because I am there. My beloved child, every shock I allow is also an invitation. It is not an invitation for you to brace yourself and merely endure, but an invitation to step deeper into relationship with me. I am not seeking loud courage. I am seeking quiet faithfulness. When you choose to trust me in the most confusing moments, you are opening the door for supernatural strength to operate within you. A strength that does not come from flesh, not from willpower, but from living communion between you and me. You may come to realize that after every shaking you are no longer the same person. You are deeper, gentler, yet also more grounded. You are less driven by fear, less swept away by immediate reactions, and more sensitive to my whisper. This is not accidental. It is the result of refinement. I am forming within you an inner strength that can carry blessing without arrogance, endure testing without bitterness, and face change without losing yourself. My beloved child, do not measure my love by the ease of the journey. Measure it by my faithfulness at every step. When the shock comes, remember that at the same moment I have opened a door to deeper understanding, to new strength, to clarified purpose. You are not being pushed into chaos. You are being led into a higher order that you cannot yet fully see. So remain with me. Anchor your heart in my promises, not in passing emotions. Trust that though life does not promise comfort, I promise guidance. Though life does not promise predictability, I promise presence. Though life does not promise stability, I promise my unchanging hand. And as you continue forward with that trust, you will see that shocks are not the end of the story. They are commas opening a new sentence that is deeper, stronger, and more richly filled with grace for your life. My beloved child, what you are about to hear in the coming hours may press upon you like a weight beyond what an ordinary person feels able to bear. It may cause your heart to momentarily falter, your breathing to grow heavier, your thoughts to sway and lose their footing for an instant. I do not deny this. I do not diminish the reality of what you will feel, but I come to you now to place within you a support deeper than emotion, steadier than instinct, stronger than any shock that lies ahead. When that news arrives, you must speak to your own heart, not with a trembling voice, but with a truth already engraved within you. God has already spoken. God has already strengthened you. God has already prepared you, my beloved child. I know how easily the human heart can be overwhelmed when faced with the unexpected. There are those who collapse inwardly after hearing a single sentence. There are those who lose in a moment the confidence they spent years building, not because they are weaker than you, but because they were never prepared at the deepest level, the level of the Spirit. I do not speak to you merely so you may understand. I speak so you may be anchored. I am planting these words within your spirit so that when your body reacts in weakness, your spirit will not fall silent, but will rise and speak on your behalf. My child, your body may tremble. Your mind may go briefly blank. Your emotions may surge like crashing waves. This is human nature. But your spirit is not ruled by those reactions. Your spirit was formed to remind you of truth when everything else tries to pull you into panic. So when that moment comes, you do not need to soothe yourself with empty assurances. You only need to return to what has already been spoken. God has already spoken. This means that nothing you hear today exists outside His Word. No event arrives unseen. No shock exceeds my knowledge or my permission. My beloved child, when you tell your heart that God has strengthened you, you are not claiming that you will feel nothing. You are declaring that your strength no longer rests in temporary sensations. Your strength is not measured by whether you remain perfectly calm. It is measured by whether you are still standing on the right foundation. I strengthened you, not by hardening you, but by deepening the roots of your faith. I led you through seasons of silence, through waiting, through believing without seeing. All of it was preparation. You are not stepping into this moment as someone untrained. You are stepping into it as one who has been formed in quiet places. My beloved child, understand this deeply. You will not be thrown down. Not because the news is light, but because your foundation is firm, you will not collapse. Not because you feel no pain, but because you are not alone. You will not be ruled by fear, not because pressure is absent, but because fear no longer holds ultimate authority over you. You will trust. And that trust is not an empty phrase. It is an inner choice made in a moment no one else sees. When you decide to place the full weight of your life upon me, rather than upon what you have just heard, I know you have seen others fall apart when their lives were shaken. I know you have witnessed how a single piece of news can dismantle a person. But my beloved child, you are not like them. Not because you are better, but because I spoke to you beforehand. I whispered, reminded, and guided you through lessons you did not fully understand at the time. Now you will see that none of it was accidental. I did not speak early to make you anxious. I spoke early so that, when the moment came, you would not be undone by the shock of surprise. My beloved child, let your spirit speak louder than your flesh. When your body responds with weariness, your spirit will rise in strength. When your mind does not know what to think, your spirit will remind you whom to trust. When your emotions try to pull you down, your spirit will hold you upright. I am not asking you to prove anything before others. I am simply inviting you to stand firm before me in truth, in trust, in surrender. My beloved child, even as you wait for the news that is approaching, know that I have already gone before you and prepared your heart for this very hour. The shaking that is coming will not crush you, for I have anchored you in a foundation that cannot be moved. When the moment arrives and your heart trembles, remember that I am with you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Choose in that instant to respond with faith rather than fear, for your declaration will release my peace into the situation. If this word has strengthened your spirit today, write Amen or I receive this word, Lord, in the comments below, and let your faith encourage others who read it. If these words have brought comfort to your heart, please like this video so that more of my children can find hope in their time of waiting. Share this message with someone you know who is facing unexpected news or uncertainty right now. You are deeply loved, you are carefully held, and you will come through this stronger and more anchored in me than ever before. I am with you, my beloved child, and I will never leave you nor forsake you.